Good morning, afternoon, and evening, guys. You're locked into Conscious Minds TV with myself, D.V.G. And today I welcome back my brother, Erik Schellekens. How's it going, brother?
Yeah, doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. For people that don't know, me and Erik did a show a few years back when I was doing a podcast called The Koch, which was just an audio podcast. It wasn't camera, and we did a show about the pyramids and the golden ratio and the Fibonacci, and we spoke a bit about the royal families and the occultism and stuff that goes on there. We also touched up on the flat earth. Today, I want to present some information to Erik. I've been looking into numbers in relation to numbers and numerology in relation to the Zodiac signs and the elements that are attached to them. And knowing that Erik, my brother Erik, is such a genius with numbers and equations and stuff, he's the perfect person for me to present it to and to get his feedback. But before we get into that, what kind of stuff you been looking into, brother? Is there any new findings, or is there any particular topic that you're concentrating on these days?
Lately, the most things I'm concentrated with, it has everything to do with the nothing, to be honest. Light itself, or the Joker itself, the Fool card, the zero, and everything what's attached to it. So
yeah. So the source.
Sorry.
So would that be considered as the source, like where you say the nothing is?
Yes, of course. It's a source. It's that which connects everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's something we don't understand.
Yeah. You've frozen for a minute, but hopefully you come back. Let's see.
Yes, back again.
Okay, you're back. Yeah. So sorry, what was you saying, brother?
Yes, a light itself, or energy, it is metaphysical and not physical.
Yep, of course.
So it is not what something is. And understanding the metaphysical gives you a lot deeper understanding of the physical itself.
Of course. That's what I mean. It's like the problem with a lot of us, like in society today, we know about things, but we don't know the root cause and where it comes from. So
exactly.
Definitely, it's good to know, or it's always good to find the root cause of everything, because it gives you a better understanding of knowing things and just knowing. Yeah, with me, once I find out the root of something, it's like an aha moment. It's like almost. It's like a relief, because you've got you got that thing off your chest at the end of the day, and you're one step closer to making the picture of the puzzle, basically.
Yes. And I think this Joker, which is in between, because he's in.
You're frozen again, brother, but I'm sure you're going to come back.
So that's what I'm studying at the moment. It is the balance between the polarity, which is something that we must achieve with our brain.
Yeah. Brother, 1 minute. I just need to shut my window because there's some noise.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, same, brother. I was like, obviously, like with me, I'm always delving deep and looking into like spirituality, and I've been looking a lot into the 10 Sephiroth and the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life lately, because obviously before I know about it, but like with me, I find that sometimes I hop around too much and I don't look into something deeply. And I've been looking into that lately, and its connection with tarot and the number 78 and the 22. And I was reading the other day about how like because they say that when you take away the 22 major cards in the tarot, you're left with the card deck. But there's an extra 2 cards an extra 4 cards, because in the playing cards it's 52, but in the tarot it's 56. And
Yes,
then
correct.
I read that from this book. There's this book called Predicting the Future. It's got about I Ching, astrology, and everything in there. It explains that how they swapped the Jack with the Knight card and another card, and that's why the numbers differentiate a bit. And so I've been looking into that and what the suit.
There are 4 extra court cards, correctly.
Yeah.
So every suit has 1 extra court card.
Yeah, and I've just been looking into, like, obviously, like, the wand is fire in relation to the Zodiac, the hearts is water element, the sword is air, and the pentacle is earth. So I've just been syncretizing it and looking into that stuff, because although I'm someone who's into astrology and numerology and gematria, tarot was kind of something that I haven't really looked into. Obviously, I was aware of the particular archetypes, and still I've got a lot to learn from it, but it's just something I've been looking into. What's your knowledge like with the tarot?
I study the cards. I never play the cards, to be honest.
So you're like me, I'm the same. I don't like it. I don't want to know for divination and stuff like that. I just like to know what they mean.
Yeah, but if you understand what they mean, then automatically it is divination.
Yeah.
But you're not misusing the deck.
Exactly.
So knowing and playing, it's 2 different things. So yeah, I have 2 decks, a Rider-Waite deck and a Crawley Thoth deck, and I study them a lot, but I never play them now.
Yeah. Brother, just for the listeners and for the viewers, can you give them a bit of background on what kind of work you do and what your background is and how you came into looking into this type of knowledge?
Okay.
I know you did in the other show, but that was like a few years back. So just a quick recap.
I will start with my backup in my study at school. I did mechanical engineering, which is very mathematical.
Yeah.
After that, I started in logistics. Nowadays, I work as an air charter specialist for a multinational corporation. So I charter airplanes for international transports. Therefore, of course, I also need to understand the air chart itself.
Yeah.
I woke up myself about 6 years ago, but had a real good background to start to study a lot of things which are connected to mechanical engineering or the math, etc. is the same as hermetics. So yeah, my first interest was, of course, everything that has to do with math, but
Erik, you froze again, brother.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's okay, you're back now.
For me, the tarot deck, it is a mathematical system.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because that's going to tie into a bit of my presentation that we're going to do, that I'm going to do lately. So shall I go into that now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. And I've got it all ready, so all I have to do is go to this, press share, and I'll go view full screen. Right. So let me go back to the beginning. Right. So the idea for me to do this just came because I'm a fan of like numerology, basically, and I love looking at what numbers are connected to particular things and stuff. And as someone who studies...
Froze up there.
Sorry?
You froze up a moment, sorry.
Oh, okay. I was just explaining my background into why I've done this presentation. So I was saying that obviously as a person who studies astrology and numerology and gematria, I'm very interested in the numbers that relate to each of the zodiac signs and the elements they correspond with. So for people who don't know, just a quick background for beginners, anyone watching. Uh, the way the zodiac works is it starts with a fire sign, then an earth sign comes, then an air sign, then a water sign, and the cycle repeats until it comes back to the beginning. But obviously, each of these elements have three different states. So you have fire cardinal, fire fixed, and fire mutable, and the same with earth, air, and water, as you can see from the screen. So the fire fixed is Leo, the fire cardinal is Aries, and the fire mutable is Sagittarius. And each element has their cardinal, fixed, and mutable. But also each element corresponds with positive or negative, or someone might say masculine, feminine, or odd and even. So fire and air correspond with masculine and odd numbers, and earth and water correspond with feminine and even numbers. People might ask why this is. Well, from my understanding, the reason why earth and water are feminine is because they're more material than fire and air. And obviously we know matter is the same word as mother, which is Mother Earth. So the earth and water signs are more dense than the air and fire. So going on from that, as you can see, what I've done here, I've added up all the numbers of the fire signs, and for each element, as you can see here. So if we look at fire, Aries is 1, Leo is 5, and Sagittarius is 9. So, and fire, like I said, is odd and masculine. So when you add 1 plus 5 plus 9, it equals 15, which is an odd number. Then I go to earth, you add 2, 6, and 10, which then becomes 18, which is an even number, which correlates with it being a feminine element. Again, air, 3 plus 7 plus 11 is 21. Water, 4 plus 8 plus 12 equals 24. So you can see the odd even pattern there, like the zodiac itself. But also, as we know, when there's in numerology, to get the true value of a number, you have to get it to a single digit. So if we take 15, we do 1 and 5, it equals 6, 1 and 8 equals 9, 2 and 1 for air equals 3, and 2 plus 4 equals 6. So that number adds up to 24, which then 24 breaks down to 6. But also, if we get all the numbers of the elements, as you can see here, fire 15, earth 18, air 21, and water 24, it adds up to 78, which correlates with the 78 cards of the tarot.
As well as the 78 connections in the Metatron's cube.
Ah, see, that's why I wanted to talk to you. That's very interesting.
And the number the final number that comes out of these equations, it's called a digital root.
What's that, brother? Can you repeat that?
It's called a digital root.
Okay.
So if by adding up the playing game that you do to get in the end one number, it's called a digital root.
Yeah. Oh, digital root. Yep. I know what you're saying. But yeah, and also underneath here, as you can read, I've like broke down 78 and broke down 24. And we can see that when you break down both these numbers in numerology to a single digit, it comes to the number 6. And obviously, Nikola Tesla said that the secret of the universe is the 369. And when you look at, so if I start from fire where it's 15, and then you go to the next one is 18, then the next one is 21, and then the next one is 24, we can see the 3 times table. And also, once you look at the single digit numbers for each element, they're all 3, 6, and 9. They all add up to 3, 6, and 9, which is very, very interesting. So that correlates with Tesla's statement or idea with, if you know 3, 6, 9, you know the universe. Is there anything you can add to that, brother?
Yes. I think that that also, because you're in this case you're talking about the zodiac signs itself. I think that the numbers are the stars, and the stars are the numbers. So
okay. Wow.
they're all fixed.
Yeah. So what I decided to do, just to see if there was this pattern continued, I thought, bear with me. I thought what I'll do then is then I'll times the numbers instead of adding them together. So as you can see with fire, if you do 1 times 5 times 9 equals 45. So as you can see, fire is odd and masculine. 45 is an odd number. And again, you can see the pattern going on. Earth is even with 120. Air is 231 with odd. And water is 384. And when you add up them numbers, again, you get the 780, which correlates with the 7, again, breaking down to 78 and the 78 cards of the tarot. And then breaking that down further goes to 6 again. And also, each number for the elements, again, when we break them down to single digits, they're all to do with 3, 6, 9, as you can see. Fire equals 9, earth equals 3, air equals 6, and water equals 6. And again, like the other ones, they add up to 24, which add up to 6. And this is 78, which when you break that down, adds up to 6. So again, you can see that there's this pattern of the number 6 there obviously seems to be a connection with number 6 and the zodiac, from what I can see.
Yes.
So moving on, I then decided, let me minus all the numbers. So if we start with fire, 9 minus 5 minus 1 equals 3. 10 minus 6 minus 2 equals 2. 11 minus 7 minus 3 equals 1. And as you can see, the numbers are going down singly, 3, 2, 1, 0. And also, adding up all these numbers, they also total to the number 6. So then, as we can see, there's a pattern within the numbers of the zodiacs and in relation to the elements and it being odd and even and masculine and feminine. So I've just left some notes here on the relevance of the numbers 78 and 6. Like I've already mentioned, there are 78 cards in the tarot deck. If you add all the numbers 1 to 12, it equals 78. In the Hebrew tree of life, the sixth Sephiroth is named Tifereth, which means harmony, and is the color of yellow, which connects with the sun, as each Sephiroth correlates with the 10 planets. Gold connects with the number 6, as pure gold is 24K gold. 24, 2 plus 4 equals 6. Virgo, the sixth sign of the zodiac, connects with purity, practicality, and sacrifice and service to others. 6 also represents balance, as there are 12 signs in the zodiac, and also the six-sided cube represents Earth. Then we've got the hexagram, which connects with the tetragrammaton and stuff like that. And also the number 6 is synonymous with, let me just move your thing up here. Yeah, number 6 is synonymous with the relationship of sex for many reasons. The sign Virgo, the Virgin. Virgo is also a mutable sign, and Virgo symbolizes the merging of day and evening and summer and fall. So these are just some of the notes I made in relation to the number 6. And is there anything you can add to that, brother, from what you can see?
At this moment, no.
Okay.
It is really interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just like I've added all the numbers and multiplied them and take them away. And when they're all broken down, the final sums are number 6.
There is a clear pattern.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
But moving on from that, what I then decided to do is take like all the cardinal signs, all the fixed signs, and all the mutable signs.
Mm-hmm.
And when you add them up all together, there's also a pattern. So the cardinal signs are number 1, which is Aries, number 4, which is Cancer, number 7, Libra, and number 10, which is Capricorn, which equals 22, which is the 22 major arcana in the tarot.
Yes, or the 22 connections in the Tree of Life.
Yeah, exactly. And also, if you break down 2 and 2, it equals 4, and that gives you the cardinal cross, which is the 4 cardinal signs. And yeah, obviously I've put, the number 22 relates to the major arcana in the tarot deck and the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet also.
Yes, correct.
So that
they are all the same.
Yeah. But then when I moved on to do the fixed signs, I found another really interesting pattern with the numbers, brother. So the fixed signs would be Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So you add 2 plus 5 plus 8 plus 11 equals 26. Well, 2 and 6 equals 8. And that's how you get the 8-spoke wheel with the 4 cardinal signs and the cross quarter days. So it's crazy how the numbers of the fixed sign correlate with the 8 spokes of the zodiac wheel.
Yes.
Also, just to add to that, the number 26 relates to the English alphabet. The word for God is Yod He Vah He, which is 10 plus 5 plus 6 plus 5, which is 26. And also, the number 26 in the periodic table is iron, which correlates with the planet Mars, which rules the fixed sign of Scorpio. And 26 is 2 plus 6, which is 8, and the 8th sign of the zodiac is Scorpio. So, again, that's just like a connection I've made with the fixed sign. And I haven't done the slide for the mutable signs, but the mutable signs, when you add them all up, it singles down to 3. Basically. So yeah, that's just my little presentation that I did, and I just wanted to share with people. And we take numbers for granted, I think, and we don't really see the significance with them. And obviously, they're used a lot within occult studies and astrology and numerology and gematria and stuff like that. So
yeah, but I also think it is because God created this universe in number.
Yeah.
The underlying foundation of it all, it is number. Number is the base of everything.
Yeah.
And that's why the more, the better you understand numbers, the better you understand your reality.
Yeah, definitely. At school, brother, I was never one really into maths or mathematics. But like since I've got into studying like the occult and more spiritual stuff, I love numbers and like
it's the only thing that gives you clarity.
Yeah, 1 second, brother. It's like
yes.
I have a whiteboard where I do sums and stuff, a little gematria and things like that. I've been looking into, you have Pythagorean gematria.
Yes.
And you have like just the normal English gematria. But I realise that no matter which way you do it, whether you do it 1 to 26 or 1 to 9, the single digit all adds up the same with the Pythagorean system and just the 1 to 26 English gematria.
But you call it gematria. In Dutch language, it's called talen. And to count, it's tellen, because languages, it is to count. You count your letters, etc. It is how our brain works.
Wow.
So counting and languages is exactly the same thing. That's also why it's in the same hemisphere.
Yep. definitely. And also, brother, it's like really interesting. Like when I look at numbers and stuff now, I see the connections with why they're associated with particular letters. Like for example, let me wipe my whiteboard and
Yes.
I'll do. We can just show the people some like examples for it. 1 second. So, for example, like A, oh, so I'm just going to do like, I'm not going to do the whole alphabet. I'm just going to do like the first 4 letters. So someone might say to me, so why is A connected to 1, for example? What I would say is that if you look at the symbol of A, it's starting from a single source. So it's talking about the source, the number, the single point. And then you look at B, it has 2 kind of circles, a line and 2 circles, which is B. And also, if you look at words to do with B, they're all to do with like doubling. So you've got both, bi, binary, boobs, even, for example. Yes. Your butt, it's all both. Like everything to do with B is to do with 2. So
yes,
for people like watching this and thinking, oh, how does A go to 1? It's just each letter is a logo.
But if you say bisexual, it is B, it is bi, it is what it means too.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, and even if you look at even 20, for example, T is the 20th letter in the English alphabet, but obviously it breaks down to 2. Well, T, you got 2, twin.
Yes, it is a crossing.
Yeah, etc., etc. So that's what I'm saying. So for people who don't quite understand this science and the occult knowledge, that's how it is on a very, obviously I'm explaining it very simply. But
yes.
I looked at the Jewish alphabet and like the gematria for that. So like their ones goes in lines of 7. So he was saying that the 8th one is just like a higher octave of number 1 because it's on the same row, basically. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add to that because you've obviously got.
If we're talking about the Jewish gematria, well, there are even different levels because you can just take the words itself and count them. To count the values of the letters itself. What they also do is pronounce each letter and take from each pronounced letter the complete value. So there is even a level underneath it.
Oh wow! So like each letter has its own sum.
Yes.
What you're saying.
So if you have the aleph, then you can also write it like as the pronunciation as aleph and count the entire value of the word aleph, and then you do that for every letter. So there's even a level underneath it.
Wow. Do you know what's interesting about the Hebrew alphabet? I've noticed, probably. You know, have you seen the work of Stan Tenen?
Yes.
Dance of the Hebrew alphabet. Well, you know, like they do like a kind of a dark. It's like they do symbols for each letter, and I found it really interesting that like Aleph, like I said, A is about going to that single point. Well, it starts off like this.
Yes.
Symbol for Aleph is like this, and Beth is like this, and that's like for me it symbolizes like the centrifugal force of the torus field. So the Beth is like coming out of the Taurus field, and the Aleph is going in. So Aleph is blue shift, and Beth would be red shift.
Correct.
And that, like, just noticing little things like that, it's so interesting. Like when you look at symbols and yeah, just the way that why things are the way they are, it adds so much extra meaning to it.
Yes, and what Stan Tenen explains, that it all comes from a flame, and our tongue itself, our lingua, it is our flame. So we talk, and in the end, everything is phonetic.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah, that's where you get the word Phoenicians comes from phonetics.
Yeah, it comes from the word phono, and phono comes from the Proto-Indian root, European root, ba, and ba is to shine, but also to tell, to speak, to say.
How do you spell that, brother? How would you spell that in English?
B-H-A. That's the Proto-Indian European root. That's also why God spoke everything into creation. Yeah, God said, "Let there be light." To speak is the word ba, and to shine or light is also ba, because photo and phono, it is the same technology, only a different frequency.
Wow.
Light and sound is not what something is, it is what something does.
Yeah, definitely. That's so true. Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
That's also why Thoth says in the Emerald Tablets that Ba does not come until Ka incarnates.
Until what incarnates, brother? Can you say that it cut out a bit?
Ba will not come until Ka incarnates.
Okay.
So you first have to incarnate before you can shine and speak and radiate. Because that's what it is in the end, radiation.
Yeah, definitely. It's I don't know. You know what's really interesting, brother? Actually, you remember we kind of we had a little chat, maybe I think it might have been about a year ago, when you was explaining to me about the flat Earth model and about how
the celestial sphere.
Yeah, the celestial sphere and stuff like that.
How it works, yeah.
Yeah, and brother, I bought this book. Yeah, it's called Simple Stargazing. Right. And I read something and I thought, wow, like this reminds me of what Erik was telling me about. And it's to do with the South Pole star. Can I read it to you? Because I think you will find it really interesting. So where does it start? I'll start from here. It says, another change of names involves something you can see or not see within the border of the crux. A cloud of blackening dust and gas which obscures the Milky Way stars behind. We'll be hearing a lot more about the Milky Way later in the book. Known today as the Coolsack in history, this cloud has also been the soot bag in the Black Magellanic cloud, which is the mysterious name I really like. It was once darkly described as inky spot and the opening to the awful solitude of unoccupied space. The crux and some friends we shall meet very shortly, and the southern equivalent of the plough and pole star combined, because they too can be used to find your way about in the dark. By following various imaginary lines, you can fairly easily discover the south pole of the sky, the point above which stars seem to revolve. So take that into consideration. Unfortunately, when you get to this point, darkness prevails, for there is no star equivalent to Polaris awaiting your arrival. There is no South Star or Polaris Australis, as you could have called it. Astronomers with big telescopes who do not wash much will harp on about the star Octantis, which almost marks the southernmost point. However, it is extremely faint and difficult to find, and therefore almost useless. The Southern Cross and couple of the dazzlers next door do the admirable job of locating this starry or celestial pole of the south.
Nice.
So that is crazy. And this person who wrote this book is not even, obviously, they're not a flat earther or a geocentric earther, but it's so crazy. Someone, I sent this to someone who's a concave earther, just to see what they would say. Because with me, brother, I like looking at all models and I just talk to everyone. But I found that quote that very interesting to the stuff you told me. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it isn't so difficult to navigate over the stars.
Yeah.
The position, your latitude of on the Earth, it is the angle to Polaris, your own angle. You are the center. The observer is always the center of the celestial sphere. You have a supernal and an infernal, and it all revolves around you. It's light. It's light. Light is emptiness. That's what it means. Space. So
hence it's light. Yeah, exactly.
So you're not looking at something physical. It's not physical. It's matter. It's metaphysical.
Yep.
So if you want to navigate over the stars, your latitude is very easy. If you're in the north, on the north side, the only thing you need to know is your angle to Polaris. And if you want to also know your longitude, the only thing you need to know is what time it is where you are at the moment. If you know what time it is where you are at the moment, and you know, for example, what time it is in London, so you always have to have a reference point, then you know where you are on the Earth.
Sorry, I was just trying to draw. I think this is what you're kind of talking. So, like, basically, as you obviously, the further you get away from the center, the lower in the horizon the pole star becomes at the north, right? So
yeah,
when you're
exactly.
So the more closer you move to the equator, so if you're directly under it, it will be obviously above you. But as you're moving away from it, the angle comes like that, is what you're saying.
Exactly. So and when you are exactly on the equator, the pole star is on. When you're on the equator, the pole star is exactly on your horizon on the north.
And then as you go south, that line comes back up, basically.
No, he goes more down. Only the south comes up.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So this is when you are completely north. This is when you are on the equator.
Yeah.
And this is when you are south.
Yeah.
And you yourself are the center of your celestial sphere. You are looking at your own stars. That's why every human being is a universe.
Yeah. Brother, you know, when we were speaking last, I remember you telling me about how when you're looking at the sun, you're looking at your chakra inside you. Can you elaborate on that? Because you mentioned this to me like a little while back, but I need to refresh my mind on what you was telling me. I don't know if you remember that.
Not really. I know that if you look inside of the sun is a reflection of you yourself. It is part of your celestial sphere. So it is connecting with yourself. There are two main lights in the sky. One is the sun, one is the moon.
Yeah.
The one is the opposite of the other, or the reflection, to be honest, of the other. Where moonlight is cooling. If you set something in the moonlight, it cools down.
Yeah.
Sunlight is heating the object.
Yeah.
So they are completely opposites of each other. And they are our primary source of energy.
Yeah. It's also, you know, like I've heard like analogy of like our head being the dome and our two eyes being, one being the sun and one being the moon.
Yeah, that is your
I
I
don't know
see
if
it.
you,
I see it this way. Your head itself, your brain has two hemispheres.
yeah,
One is infernal and the other is supernal. One is the devil, the other is
yeah,
good.
of
Let's
course.
see it that way. One is the moon side. It's also the min side or the minus side,
Yeah,
or even minuscula. Minuscula means not a capital letter but a small letter. The sun itself, it is a capital. It's the mayuscula. It is it's also masculine, and it is the positive side. So yeah, it is Boaz and Jakim,
yeah,
where
yeah,
Boaz is feminine, Jakim is masculine.
yeah.
It's
You know what, brother? That's really interesting. You know how, again, I'm going to etymology now. Well, Boaz, obviously, like you say, would correlate with the moon, right?
yes,
Well, the word Boaz in Turkish is throat, and throat is to do with Taurus, and the moon exalts in Taurus,
yes,
which is really interesting. And obviously, Jackin, as we know, is the Jack, the Union Jack, which is the four cardinal
yeah,
points on the. Yeah, so it's really interesting. Like, that's why knowing languages is so beneficial of connecting the dots and that. And also, brother, I didn't realize that. Obviously, you know, like from the equator to the tropics is 23.5 degrees, right? So
yeah, or
if you,
point 0.4.
yeah, but so like if you add them both together, so the 23 and the 23.5, it comes to 47. And then the 47, so 4 and 7 is 11. And then you got the two Bowies and Jackin, the two
Yes,
pillars. So I don't know if like, I was just doing some sums the other day on my board, and I came across that, and I found that really interesting.
I was looking at my car. I have a Renault, a Renault Twingo,
Yeah.
and on the back it says Renault in the post. It also states 11 with a sign, and 11 in Dutch it means 11, and
Oh,
the sign also, it looks like it's two ones
yeah,
because it is both, and 11 itself. Like I told you, 11 in Dutch it is 11, but self it means same because you have two of them.
ah,
Yeah?
so it's like talking about the polarity, basically, redshift, blue shift.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
Who is the self? The self is the same. There needs to be two of them, otherwise they are not equal. They are opposites. It's Boaz
Yeah,
and Jackim. Boaz and Jackim, they are the tree of knowledge of good and evil, where your heart is the tree of life.
yeah,
Your heart is the balance between the two. Your heart is the earth, which is the plane between the two hemispheres,
yeah,
celestial and the terrestrial.
yeah. It's like the mid. It's the point where the two they merge, basically, isn't it?
It's the RGB, the red, green, and
Yep,
blue. If I looked up today to the sky, I saw a blue sky.
yep.
That blue sky has a temperature of over 9,000 Kelvin, while the sun, if I look directly into the sun, has just 5,778 Kelvin. So the blue sky is hotter than the sun itself. The
Yep,
earth where we are, it is green.
yep,
It's the middle plane, and everything down is red.
yep. Like the red earth and the soil, and obviously the hell. It symbolizes hell and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. But like,
And here we have both. We have good and evil.
yep,
Here we have the choice between.
definitely, definitely. It's that's what I mean. Like, finding these kind of stuff out. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's so inspirational, brother. I've been doing a lot of research and decoding and things like that recently, and so it just every time I find a new discovery, it's like I get this rush in my body. It's amazing, and it makes me feel not powerful in the sense like of because I got an ego, just because it brings me closer to that nothing, to that source like we was talking about at the beginning. and you start understanding what that source is about and why it acts the way it acts and stuff like that. And like even things like simple things like, obviously when white and black light collide, they create the 7 colors of the electromagnetic spectrum. And obviously that, when you know, like when they shine the light through the prism and the electromagnetic spectrum, it go like what's the word? It severs almost. And that's like where also you can see where the word 7 comes from. 7 severs, and it severs outwards, and also it's
but also what you say 7. If you have a number, you divide the number by 7, and you don't get an equal. You don't get a full number. So I'm not talking about 14 divided by 7, but I'm talking about 13 divided by 7 or 12 divided by 7. The number itself, what it is, a repeating digit number, and it's always the same repeating digit number. That's what it does. It divides, severs, but it always has the same repeating number.
Wow.
Only starting at a different point.
Wow. Yeah, and also like I was watching someone's show. It's like obviously Libra is the 7th sign, and S even is like the sine wave at even as well. Like if you break down the word, so etymology as well is another amazing tool. You can learn like and break down so many things. Like with me knowing a few different languages, it really helps. And I know you do a lot of that stuff because you post it a lot on your page and stuff like that, and like looking at interchangeables like R and L and like regal and legal being the same word. And
those. Yes, correctly. Those are liquid sounds. I think the R and the L.
Yeah.
And and you only have 2 liquid sounds, and so they must be opposed. Everything is double in this world. The only difference is one is.
You're frozen, brother.
Yes.
You froze for a bit, but I don't know. You were saying about what? I don't know what you said because I missed it.
Okay, let's get back. The R and the L, they are called liquid sounds, and they are opposites of each other because everything is polarity. You only have 2. That's also the reason why some people in some languages that don't have both of them are not able to hear so much of a difference. If you go to, I think, a Chinese or a Japanese person,
they say it the other way around. They pronounce their R's and L's the opposite way around.
Exactly. They only have one, I think. They only have one of them. That's why they can't hear the difference between the sounds.
Okay.
I think or the L or the R, they only have one in their alphabet, so they're not used to both of them, and everything exists in this universe as pairs of opposites. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's in language exactly the same. Language is not something that we created. Language is something that we received as a complete package. It is divine.
Definitely.
To be honest.
Brother, have you looked into Paleo Hebrew before?
Sorry?
Paleo Hebrew.
Very, very little, because I think initially understanding the Hebrew itself, the Hebrew language, it is difficult enough. But if you go Paleo,
because the reason why I bring that up is because there's a brother called Dave Murphy, who I'm sure you're aware of. Dave Murphy, Dave Moore.
No, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're not? No, he's quite known in the truth community. He does flat Earth videos. He does all sorts. He's a very good researcher, actually.
Okay.
He done a video about Paleo Hebrew, and he was saying that, you know, like when like babies try to talk and they say like goo goo gaga, and they have that language, like it's like a, and he's saying that they did this test apparently where they left 4 people on an island that have never met each other or something, or these like kids, and they were all communicating in like that baby language,
Hmm.
and he was saying that this baby language is what Paleo Hebrew is, and I was just wondering if you've looked into that at all.
No, no.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I've done my study in Hebrew, but still studying, of course,
Of
but no
course, yeah.
Paleo Hebrew now. One of the reasons why I've also not taken very much account of it, it's due to the fact that I understand that the Bible itself was also written in the original, the current Hebrew language in symbols.
Yeah. Also, have you seen how like do you know Jordan Maxwell? Obviously.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, he did a video on like the Bible and translating it from Hebrew to English, and he said that there is a lot of mistranslations in the Bible. So like, really, the English Bible doesn't kind of truly translate what it's saying. It says it's roughly the same, but he was saying that there's a few discrepancies. I don't know if you was aware of that.
Yes, I think that there are a lot of discrepancies in the Bible. Let's be honest. They also took out books,
Yeah, like the Book of
but
Enoch.
also information has changed. That's the reason why you should never accept anything which is written in a book as long as it doesn't go along with your own reasoning. God gave us reasoning because He knew that we would change His writings or their writings, and I don't think that I'm not only think that the Bible is a sacred book. The Quran is also a sacred book.
Yeah.
I think all scripture is sacred.
Yep, I
So
agree, brother. I agree. I totally agree. Because I don't know if you saw my show. Did you see my show that I did? I managed to do with Santos about Islam and the Quran and.
no, no.
Oh, you haven't? No, I did a show with brother Santos Bonacci. I found some amazing findings, brother, of Islam and how it connects to astrology and astrotheology and.
I think it's beautiful. We are reading the Quran now, and it if you know the Bible and then you start reading the Quran, it. I think it's a lot easier to read than the Bible itself.
Brother, I
It's a
totally
lot much
agree.
more directly.
I totally agree because when every time I read the Bible, do you find this pattern with the Bible? It's like I'll read a passage and then a bit down the line, it's like I read this. It's like it repeats itself a lot. I don't know if you find that. I find
Yes.
that a lot, and it's
There
like
is a lot of repetition in the Bible itself. There's even parts that are double, almost copied in the Bible. So
do you know
yes.
why that is?
No, to be honest, I don't.
No,
No.
okay, because that part of it really like used to throw me off, and it just
Mhm.
like I'd read it, but like it's just like I can't get into a flow when I read it. I don't know if it's because of the type of English it's also written in.
I think it's partially like English is already a D-based language,
Yeah,
which by conveying information we use sounds. If you
yeah.
debase a language, then you have less information.
So it's like a diluted version, basically.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, really interesting. Very interesting. Yeah,
We for example in our Dutch language we have a lot more sounds in our language that you don't have. That's also one of the reasons why it is so easy for a Dutchman to speak other languages, because most of the sounds are not new to him.
that is a really interesting point you bring up, brother. Because you know what I find? I find that it's funny how like most non-speaking English people can pick up other languages and speak other languages, but a lot of people who have English as their first language don't know other languages, and that's a
Correct.
really interesting point you brought up there. So that's to do with the amount of sounds in they use.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
wow, that's so interesting. Yeah, man. But how far have you read much of the Quran, or you just how much have you read of it?
We read every now and then.
Yeah. What have you
But
found from it, and like,
what,
what can you see
one
from
thing,
it?
one thing, because we're talking because we're also talking about astrology now, we're talking about 7 planets, and we're
Yeah,
talking about 7 in total. Even the Sabbath, and that you have to do the Sabbath, it is mentioned in the Quran,
yeah.
because it even states if you don't do so, apes you will be apes.
Sorry, say that again. If you don't do so.
The Sabbath, that you will become apes or be apes.
Oh wow! So it's like you almost like you're descending your human consciousness, basically. Oh wow, that's
Uh,
really interesting.
yeah, so it's
That's
not even.
almost like a reverse of what they tell us, like how we come from monkeys, but it's
Mhm.
really the other way around, maybe.
Yeah, the Saturday is the day to saturate, to fill yourself. That's the why it's the day of rest, the day of reset. 6 days you work, 6 days you give, 6 days you radiate your energy, you radiate out your energy, and then Monday you fill yourself up.
Yeah, interesting as well. Like you were saying about rest with like Sabbath and Saturn. Well, Saturn, interestingly enough, the archetype in astrology is about restriction. So it's stopping movement. So that's a
Yes.
really good connection there, actually. And also, brother, I've been like thinking about like you know, like the Kaaba in Mecca, the square, like,
Yes.
and things like that, and how it like correlates because they walk around it 7 times. So that symbolizes them. I guess it's the symbology of the 7 planets
It must be. If it
around the.
is 7, it's always the
Yeah.
7 planets.
But brother, would you see the black cube? Would you correlate it with the Earth as like Earth is the cube in like geometry, or would you correlate that as like Mount Meru, the black cube?
Both. Both. It's you yourself as well. You are the center. The black sun, everything which has to do with the center, it's you, because you are the center of your celestial sphere.
Yeah,
You are the center of your horizon. You are the son of your father and mother, of the two polarities.
yeah.
You are the, so yeah, you are the joker. We are living in a game. It's a joke. It's a joke in Spanish means game. So we are in a game, and you are player. You are Ready Player One. Have you seen the
Wow.
movie Ready Player One?
No, I haven't actually.
Then you should see it. Really should see it.
Yeah, because another thing that's interesting with like the cube as well, brother, it's like obviously nature doesn't create straight like cubes and stuff. It creates more circular stuff. So like the square or the cube is seen as more as a metaphysical spiritual concept. Have you heard that idea?
No, I see it more as something which is hexed within the three dimensions.
Oh, so you see it as the opposite.
Yeah, I see it as something which is the cube itself. It represents the 3 dimensions.
Okay.
So you have 6 sides on a cube.
Yeah,
So it's all the dimensions of this universe.
right. Okay, yeah, because it's just like I got the notion that because nature doesn't create like squares itself or straight lines, that it corresponds.
Doesn't it?
Huh?
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
I don't know.
I think it does. If I take a look how some things crystallizes, you even have metals that crystallize in cubes.
Wow. So again, that's just maybe a lack of information from my side. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. That's really
Yeah, so I think straight lines exist. Both of them. The straight is it's in Dutch it means recht. Recht is your right arm. That's
yeah.
also why it's always straight. If you have to do a vow, never do a vow, then it's your right arm up and your left arm horizontal.
Oh,
Because that's the right.
Like the Baphomet symbol. Is that what you're talking about? when he's
Yes.
got
So
his arms up like this.
it's not. Yeah, but it's not only then. It's also when if you have to go to court and then they want you to testify and they let you they ask you to take the oath. It's always your right hand up because it's right, it's straight,
Yeah.
it's left, and the other one is down. So in this also, like Thoth explains in his tablets, you have both. You have straight and you have curved.
Ah, okay.
And that's also Boaz and Jakim. Your right arm is straight, your left arm is curved. That's why it's that your devil or your evil hand, your left hand.
Oh, wow, that's very interesting. Because it's weird because like I was talking about like that Mecca and the Kaaba and the square. There's so many different like theories behind that. Because obviously, I'm sure you're aware. There's like a square flat Earth community, and
I know.
they say that basically the Kaaba in Mecca is what they're walking round, because their model is that there's like a tabernacle, like a square, and around that is the celestial sphere spinning around
I know.
that square basically, and that's what they're saying that is a representation of, which it makes sense in correlation with their model, but whether it's that or not is obviously is debatable. Do you get what I mean?
The thing is, it doesn't function if you want to navigate over the stars.
Yeah.
There is no working model. While navigation, what you also said, it doesn't make a difference if you're a flat earther or you believe that you're on a globe. The system for navigation works on both.
Yeah,
because it works on latitude and longitude.
Yeah.
It's only the difference in mapping.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? So it just goes to show, like, wow, it's just it's weird. You see that subject, brother? I've gone off it. I haven't looked into that subject in a long while, but it's obviously always something that will be really close to me because I looked into it for such a while. I've discussed it with you. I've discussed it with other people, but like the conclusion I've come to is just like I like to look at them all just to see what they say and how they all work. But why I love talking to you is because I know that your background of where you work and what you do, and you say everything, it just makes perfect sense with the disc model and all the measurements and all the how can I say, the coordinates and stuff. If I remember correctly, that's what you were saying to me.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same. It's the same system. It is nothing more than a coordinate system.
Yeah.
And how to read it, and then you know your location on the Earth. And it doesn't make a difference if you map your location on the Earth on a globe, or if you map your location on the Earth on a plane. The system stays the same, but can you navigate using that system on both? Yeah. So it is a working model. You don't have to change anything.
Wow. Because a lot of like the square.
And one other thing, also to make it logical, we all know that. Are you still there, bro?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh yeah, we all know that the horizon, it's our eye mark. It is our eye level. It is so everything which is underneath eye level, everything which is underneath your horizon is lower than it you are. Everything that's higher than your horizon is higher than you are.
Yeah.
So let's say you're on a mountain. You're on 2 kilometers height mountain, and you're looking. It's just clear sky, and you can look for miles and miles and miles, and you see the horizon, and everything which points over the horizon, the way they calculate themselves is higher than you are. If that's the case, then you can't have any curvature.
Yeah.
So the logic itself tells you that there is no. We measure heights using the angle of from the equator to calculate things. If that's the way we calculate it, then there can't be any curvature. It must be straight. It must be.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I just want to say, brother, thanks a lot for joining me today, man. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'd love talking to you, and
Likewise.
thank you for taking time to listen to my presentation and add your influence to it. And yeah, I love talking to you because I know you're full of so much knowledge, and I like to get your perspective because I notice that whenever I talk to you and I explain like something I've learned, you'll tell me in a different way, and I love that. And I don't see it as you correcting me or whatever. I just see it as new information for me to add to what I already know. So like I love like learning new stuff and stuff. But before we go, how are you seeing what's currently playing out at the moment with the so-called pandemic and corona, and talk about the name a bit and what it all means for you?
I think it's one of the biggest hoaxes being played that they're playing out at the moment. They're checking how much we will accept. I think it's also a way to get the 5G installed, and without all of the sickness that comes from radiation, it will be claimed as being COVID-19 people. So they're hiding the 5G, which is not good for our health, and of course making this system cashless. So I think it's like the internet, which is catching up with us, and it's becoming a net, and we are being caught in the net of the internet itself. So it's partially 5G, but you also have to understand that 5G can be used as a weapon.
Yeah.
The difference between 5G and 4G, etc., is that you can do beamforming and triangulation. 5G itself, it goes to the 60, I think it's megahertz, which is a microwave. If you combine rays to one location, then it's a weapon.
Wow. Triangulation is when they bounce like stuff off the ionosphere and stuff, isn't? Is that what that is?
No, they don't need it by ionosphere because the Earth is flat, so you only need a clear line of sight. So if you have 3 telephone towers, these telephone towers can triangulate your position exactly. But the difference between the old antennas and the new antennas is that the old antennas were all omnidirectional, which means they send out in all directions the same amount. These ones, they can beam it, so they can form a beam just in one direction. And you can understand that then you have a lot more radiation in a beam than normally in omnidirection. But the second thing is they can also send out from 3 or 4 locations to one specific point and cross your beams. You don't want to be there where those beams are crossed, because then it's the same as sitting in a microwave.
Wow. So interesting, brother. I went to the shop the other day to get some fruit and veg and stuff. I was walking and I looked up, and there's a place in our area that used to be a bingo hall, but now it's like a banqueting suite where they do weddings and stuff. And I looked up and there's this brand new tower, man. It's never been there. I've been living in this area for 33 years of my life, and I was like, damn.
It has everything to do also with the reach, because the reach of the 5G system, it's due to the frequency, it has a smaller reach, so they need a lot more towers.
Right. So it's powerful, but its range is not as...
Exactly, it has a small range.
I get it.
That's why they want to place it there all over. And
Oh
Yeah,
wow, that
it
makes
can be
total.
weaponized. That's the problem, and I don't think it is. It is a coincidence. I think it is weaponized. It is weaponizable, but they will use it as a weapon. That's
Yeah,
Everybody has its GPS track and tracer in its pocket, and yeah, if you're making a fuss, then you can become a target. And
yeah,
that's silent weapons of quiet wars. You
yeah,
will never notice.
yeah. Do you think it has anything to do with like the what do you call it, the Federal Reserve, and then
Uh,
like for example, like messing up the economic system so that the governments will have to borrow more money, and then
Not only this, I don't think it has something to do with borrowing more money. It has something to do with that the economic crash is something which is inevitable in a debt-based society. Uh, so we are already on negative interest rates. They can't do anything. They know that it's going to blow up in their faces. But if you have a crisis, then you can blame something else. So they're looking for something to blame. And of course, they want to press extra, create extra money, because it is a banking system. Everything is a banking system. All governments are banking systems. All courts are banking systems.
yeah, that's why hence it's referred to as the bench and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, and obvious,
exactly.
yeah, like I spoke with Santos about a bit of the etymology, like with the whole banking system and stuff like that, because you have like Barclays Bank,
Yes.
and I was thinking it might have to do with like obviously the bark and like relating to like Noah's Ark and the bark lays on the bank and to do with like the maritime law and stuff like that. It's so interesting and like
But money itself, as soon as money is involved, it is always commercial maritime law.
yeah,
Even the sign in the money itself, if you have a paper money and you hold it against light, and you see the mark. It's a water, in Dutch they call it een waterteken. It's a water sign.
yeah,
They call it in Dutch, because it's always water. So if a police officer wants to fine you, he's doing commerce. There's no other option.
yeah,
If money is involved, if it's commerce.
yeah, definitely. That's why they try and make you bring out ID, because obviously you'll then be like committing fraud because you're admitting to being a
No. You're not. It's not fraud. It is because it is something that you decide yourself. You don't have to go into commerce. It is a decision that you make yourself.
yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah.
To
That's what I'm
yourself,
saying.
you are unique. If as soon as you think you are identical, then you can identify yourself, and only a corpse is identical. It is like in Dutch, and like is the same.
Yeah,
So that's also why it is uniform commercial code. Everything which is uniform uniform. It is the same. That's why the police wear uniforms, because they are in contract law. You yourself, at the moment that you ID yourself, then you are proceeding in commerce.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
I will never ID myself because I'm not a dead entity.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I'm saying. You can't
It
because
is it is impossible to
yeah,
ID yourself. You have to understand that the state itself, it is a soul asylum. We are all nuts. That's why they are taking care of us.
yeah. It's like we're not competent enough to do our own thing, so they have to do it for us. Exactly.
Exactly. And that's also the truth, to be honest. If I look around me now that I'm awake, yeah, it sounds strange, but
Yeah, yeah.
to
No,
be
you're
honest,
right. You're right, because it's like I even see it with my own family and stuff, and like people are so in their own world and zombified. Is that they need doctors to take care of them, or they need when they get. Why don't you just learn yourself and take care of yourself rather than going to other people who don't really give a shit about you and just do it for money. Like, we're not very independent as a society. That's definitely, you're right. I've noticed that. And as well, since I've got on my journey, which I've tried to be more independent as a person, but yeah, man.
Yeah, but we do everything not to be responsible, and that's also something that says society is teaching not to be responsible, not to take action, not. Definitely. When I went to school and I was young and I had a problem with somebody and you had a fight with this guy, school told you that you could not hit back. Why can't you hit back? Why can't you? So.
Yeah, definitely, brother. Before we, go on. What was you gonna say?
That's a conditioning.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I was just gonna say, before we go, let the people know where they can find some of your work or the stuff you like to share, or if you have any pages on Facebook or social media.
The only thing I use is Facebook, and people can look me up on the Erik Schellekens. Yeah. I also have some additional Facebook pages. One is if you Google for 5778, it has everything to do with the temperature of the sun. I have a page that tells you everything about the Joker. I think that, and I have a page that is a pyramid mathematicians, and it explains you everything about the magic in numbers and mathematics.
Great stuff. So once again, brother, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate your time. I love talking to you.
And thank you for giving your presentation. I loved listening to it.
Oh, thank you, brother. That means a lot. Yeah, I just thought I've had this presentation for a while and I wanted to share it, and I thought you would be a good person to share it with. But I just want to say to the listeners, if you're still watching, thanks for watching. This is Conscious Minds TV, and we'll be back soon. Peace.
Peace. Cheers.